It's so weird to hear your own voice with both ears at the same time. Usually, if I talk, I'm either directly monitoring myself, and therefore I'm wearing headphones, or there's like always a an earbud or something in my ear. Um, I took one out just a second ago because I didn't want it to be accidentally used as a microphone or something. Ay, ay, ay. So, funny thing, we have an orc spider here. I don't know if the camera can see it. Well, the camera can see it a little bit, but with the compression, probably. There's probably nothing. And he had a couple of buddies last year. Sorry for that. I'm fighting off mosquitoes. There were probably like at least half a dozen, and I assume even more, deeper in the woods. There were like these giant orc spider, spider webs, like everywhere here last year. It was so annoying. And those orc spiders, like you can't even tell if it's a spider or if it's like a tiny piece of like dry leaf, somewhere. Yeah, it's not quite. Those things are just so creepy. Like their design, their character design, their monster design is just straight out of like sci-fi. Like from like where I am from, like a universe. Well, like we don't exactly know how it works. Either universes collapse into each other literally every second, or if only major collapses really work. Probably both are true, but like the minor ones, we don't notice them. But I would say there's probably been at least 2 or 3 really big collapses in my life. So the original universe I am from, like those spiders did not exist. Like something with an ass like that, with a spider ass like that, no, not my original universe, not even remotely. It would have been considered like something from like a sci-fi, space monster type of design. Well, and they weren't here like a couple of years ago also. Like, oof, I would have noticed. No, it's just last year they came. Last year they were added. With the whatever, by the architect, or just it came from the other universe that collapsed into ours or something. Seriously though, so in news, I know I uploaded a podcast like what, a week ago or half a week ago, something like that. Want to know something funny? I I talk about doing that thing weekly, right? It was recorded 2 weeks ago. Yeah, it took me, oh wow, it took me literally 2 weeks to put all of that together. And funniest thing, oh, oops, sorry, a little bit of privacy. I, uh, what's up, Poopy? Did I spook you? Literally spooked you. Um, like the stupid Shadow Man gameplay. Well, I don't know. The Shadow Man gameplay, Dreamcast Flycast thing. I didn't even have it until a week ago. Like, I didn't have time to sit down and play Shadow Man for 2 hours. I really didn't. I came up with the genius idea of creating screensavers of just kind of like, epic vistas from video games. Unfortunately, you either need a PC video game, and only modern video games have that kind of like those types of hacks. Photo modes usually pause the game, so you cannot even use that. And it's kind of like, there are a lot of older video games that even don't have that, but could really use. Like there is no fan mod, for example, for just like free cam in, say, like the Prince of Persia trilogy games. Like Warrior Within has some epic, just like metal, shots, and there's relatively animated too. There's some absolutely amazing forests in Metal Gear Solid 3. Obviously, there's the entirety of Shadow of the Colossus. Guys, one of you needs to come around. Well, you're closer, so come on. Come on, Pinibushi. Unfortunately, like there are no hacks for those things. Not for consoles, not for even PC versions of those games. That could literally let you, well, first of all, disable the UI, but also like make the character invisible. And of course, there's like no PC version. Oh, if Shadow of the Colossus was on PC, there definitely would have been a hack for that because people would have been making screenshots out of that, all day long. I don't know if you know, on this channel, I actually have a review of the Shadow of the Colossus remake for PS4. And long story short, I think it's an amazing remake. Actually, it's probably one of a few remakes I actually kind of approved of. I didn't need it. I definitely did not need it. And after I have played it, I basically said, yeah, cool. I'm pretty much never gonna play it again unless maybe one day in the future PS4 is like emulatable and I'm just gonna play it on the emulator maybe one day if I'm still alive by the time such technology exists. Like, yeah, sure. But yeah, I'm just gonna play the original because like I don't know why I need this, but it's good. It's good that it exists. I did not hate it, and I thought it was very faithful, despite the fact that like so many details in the environment, which is basically the only difference, so many details in the environment that were added to that remake, something that didn't even exist in like a lower level of detail in the original. Because in the original there was just no detail somewhere, and now in the remake you have all these like designs on the walls and whatnot. There was nothing in the original there, but you know what? I think they work. Like it works. I think it's not like, oh, we just added some random crap, because that's how a modern remake on Unreal Engine 5 would be, right? Because all the textures and whatnot, all of that was upscaled with AI. So it's literally just like random crap everywhere, right? It's like, oh, we added detail. What kind of detail did you add? Just random crap, just random AI noise, is now part of textures. Look how much more detail there is, our textures. And it's like, yeah, but it's all crap. Um, yeah, no, that's not how the situation was in the Shadow of the Colossus remake. It was actually really nice. I think it really worked well with the overall, aesthetic of the original game and everything and whatever. But yeah, well, anyway, I'll figure something out. One of the solutions is that if there's a game I kind of want to take a really long screensaver vista from, but I cannot hide the UI and there's a character in the middle of the whole thing, I'm just gonna record footage in like 8K and then just crop it. And yeah, I'm gonna lose a lot of FOV for the video, but maybe it'll still work. Who knows? Generally speaking though, yeah, it's kind of crap that I don't have uh, well, that my idea is not like easily or maybe even at all realizable unless I am the one who makes hacks for console versions, of games like Shadow of the Colossus, so I could like hide the character. I actually at one point, I don't remember which Colossus it was. There is like a little tiny forest, not like the forest area that's like to the right. Like if you're looking out, if you're at the temple and you're looking like away in the direction of the first Colossus, right, like to the right, like immediately at the end of that field and to the right, there's like a forest. I'm not talking about that one. I think the one I'm talking is actually in the direction of the exit from the whole area. You like climb somewhere like a little bit. It's pretty much in the opposite direction. You like climb some here like a little bit and you end up in this like tiny little like mini forest. Aini, you nearly broke my nail. What the hell are you doing? Come here. Jesus. Oh. I made probably like a 20-30 minutes, something like that, screensaver out of that on PS4, actually for like a mini podcast, a mini cast, if you will, by crouching in like a bush, and you actually could not see what's his name, Wonder. Well, it's supposed to be Wanderer, but it's Wonder, yeah. It's pretty much wonder in Japanese as well, like it's wanda. Anyway, yeah, I kind of like found an interesting-ish kind of angle. I think the horsey was in the shot actually, like idling. It made for a really nice screensaver, and it worked because I managed to hide the character, hide wonder. Into the podcast, I actually stood up. I don't remember if I literally, like, while I was talking, I was like holding, what would have been? I think it's just like the grab button, which is R1, right? Is that R1 or R2? I don't remember. They might have changed that actually for the remake, or maybe not. I'm not sure if I actually held the button the entire time to crouch in there. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. I don't remember. But yeah. I think I must have taped it or something on the controller. I recorded it separately. Now I remember, and I just adjusted the screensaver so that at the end of the podcast, like I stand up and you can see what I was doing the entire time, like how how the whole thing worked out. But you could do the same thing by literally cropping, like the character out of the the shot. It's just that depending on how you know how aggressive the cropping will need to be, you may end up with a really narrow shot that actually kind of looks like crap. You just need to oversample the image before you record it. Oh yeah. So yeah, a week ago I did not have that footage, so I put it all together. I think at the like, when was it? It feels like it might have been like a week or two ago, because of how just insane my life now is. Like I discover certain things that I feel like were literally a week ago, and actually, oh, oops, it was just 2 days ago. Ah, at any rate, so yeah. Uh, I've been I've been doing full time with a few weeks of overtime for just straight like 2.5 months pretty much in a row now. And I am so behind on literally every single thing that I kind of want to do. I talk about doing musics in my podcast. Yeah, I started like a month ago, putting something together. I think I recorded everything in basically 1.5 days when I had like on my days off, and I've not touched it since. I have a bunch of other things I kind of want to do. Writing wise, want to update a few things. If you've been to my Patreon, you've seen that NBSI 2 website, I have made a local backup for it. There's a reason. There's a reason why I've done it. What else? Because I want to make it prettier. Well, it's already super pretty. And no, I did not just apply a jackal theme to it. I have actually contributed to the theme. I've made it much better. I didn't submit any pull requests, but I found a bunch of problems with them. Offered solutions and asked for solutions also. And the author of the theme actually replied. I was like, oh yep, that thing actually did not work somehow. So yeah, it's pretty cool. It's actually pretty cool. I'm very proud of both my websites. I would much rather have them much simpler, but literally working on nothing but a little bit of JavaScript I wrote myself, and just CSS and HTML. I hate all those well, not all those goddamn libraries, but yeah, I kind of hate the fact that it needs to be built with Jackal every time you want to make a change. It's not that big a problem, but if you ever need to reinstall Jackal, right, like on a different machine. So okay, I'm on a different machine now, I want to do something with my website. You cannot just install Jackal. You cannot, because it's going to install all the dependencies and Jackal itself from the wrong version, So you either going to have to unlock the jam lock on your website, and then hopefully nothing breaks, and hopefully nothing, renders completely differently if you switch all the versions of all the dependencies from the ones on which your website has been working for the last 5 years. Or you have to go through the trouble of installing everything according to the jamlock, which means that if you have more than one site, you're gonna have to do that for every site you wanna now touch on that new machine. So like, yeah, I would rather just not have it, not have that step at all. Like I started building websites in high school, and I built so many websites in my first uni, not my second. So my first 2.5 years at my first uni, we built a crap ton of websites, and well, we were primarily there working in Dreamweaver. I hated it, but it was a little bit of help. But it was just an IDE, it wasn't like a site generator or anything like that. And yeah, I am like super comfortable literally opening a text file, renaming it into .html, and just starting laying down the tags. That's I like, dude, and you end up with things that are super clean, and it doesn't have to look like a website from the 90s, like at all. You can make anything you want just like that, and it'll be super dumbly lightweight. It'll probably be literally like it'll probably not even exceed the like minimum the minimum size of a file on your in your file system, like whatever it is, like 4 kilobytes, or something like that. It'll probably not even exceed that. It'll be literally as small as the file can be, on your allocation table. So yeah, I would much rather have that, but whatever. Anyway, I wanna make it a little bit more, well, let's call it as it is. I want to make it a little bit more professional. Originally, NBSI, the entire guide, was written as, well, first of all, it's kind of like half my life's work, languages and language acquisition specifically, not with Japan specifically. Japan is one of the, of course, targets for that for me, but I am much more interested in just general, input hypothesis and just in general, language acquisition. And that's what NBSI is. But what really, really, really motivated me to basically drop everything and prioritize that for, I don't know, about a month maybe, was, of course, at the time, extremely popular and extremely misleading, extremely toxic, and at that time already aggressively turning grifty and scammy YouTube polyglot community. So you're being lied to and scammed at the same time. So you're not only being, charged for something that is free out there and basically just as easy to find as the YouTube video that's trying to scam you. It's not like you're being provided with any kind of service making your life easier. Like, no. You're being lied to because no language acquisition is not even remotely as simple as some of these people say. And the methods of language acquisition these people are promoting, like, what's his name? Something Kaufman or something. His language acquisition technique basically is not proven to work at all, and it sounds absolutely idiotic. Matt versus Japan, sir. Oh, hey, here's another one. Okay, so there is more than one here. Matt versus Japan's acquisition, language acquisition technique, so to speak, or system or whatever, approach. It does work in theory, and I went through something like that myself when I was 15 years old. But Matt himself was probably 20 or 18 when he started his channel. So he was still fresh off the hype, and he didn't quite understand that his language acquisition technique literally does not work for anyone older than 22 maybe. There is a neuroplasticity involved in the reasoning, in my reasoning, and just the fact that it's just logistically impossible. Yeah, yeah. There were all kinds of people claiming to speak like 48 languages and that they learn a language like a week on YouTube. Absolutely, there were. There were people who went viral. There was one, I don't remember his name. He was like actually semi-popular. Almost everyone on Polyglot YouTube knew his name. I forgot. It was some guy who would like learn, I don't know, maybe like a few dozen, maybe 100 phrases in like a random language that would be considered relatively niche, like, I don't know, say Vietnamese. And he would go to like a Vietnamese market or something like that in the big city or whatever, just whatever, wherever he was living. And he actually like would do very well shadowing. He would be very well prepared to speak those phrases in like, all things considered, really good and convincing accent. So if that's all you heard of him, and you wouldn't like, resume the conversation further or keep the conversation going further, you would probably be convinced, oh, dude, you sounded native. It's like, for example, I grew up speaking Russian. So if somebody opens their mouth and speaks one sentence of Russian, I can immediately tell whether they are, like native Russian speakers or not. I can immediately tell. It's a little bit more difficult to do that with English because, of course, English has so many accents. Russian does not have a ton of accents. Okay, it doesn't. So, like when somebody, starts speaking like this, kind of like this in Russian, and like, I do not know. My teacher tells me my pronunciation in Russian is very good. Yeah, I can tell that you're like a Brit, or something like that. Like, yeah, I can hear that you're British, speaking like Russian, like phonetics, right? Speaking in Russian phonetics, I can hear it. I can hear American accent. I can tell it. It's super easy to tell immediately. Very good example for, let's say, like English speakers, especially. Like, I don't know, if you're American and you've seen an anime or two, right? Or you've been to Japan or whatever. Like, yeah, if you've been to Japan, or if you've seen a couple of animes, you can very easily tell, even if you don't speak much Japanese, if you speak a little bit of Japanese, or if you're just like really used to the sound of Japanese, for example, like you've seen a lot of anime or something like that, you can tell when it's an American saying konnichiwa, oh sayonara, konbanwa. You can tell that, okay, that's not how Japanese people speak how Japanese people speak Japanese, right? You can tell even if you yourself don't speak. So yeah. Okay, whatever. So what else was there? There was Dogen, very interesting character, a dude who spent like, I think probably like half his life at that point in Japan. In Japan, working and living in Japan. And his philosophy was that in order to get the kind of life I have, right? In order to be good as I am, you need to be just absolutely like drilling phonetics, like practicing phonetics your entire life. It's like grammar and phonetics. That's it. You just need to train yourself to sound perfect. Well, first of all, you don't sound perfect because native speakers of like no language speak perfect. Actually, natives all sound very fucked up. Like there's a certain level of fucked uppery built into a language at the native level. And Dogen sounds like a robot. He doesn't sound Japanese. He sounds like a Japanese robot, first of all. Second, yeah, dude, so you don't think the fact that you've lived in Japan for 20 years is the fact why you speak Japanese? Like, you think drilling grammar and like phonetics, like shadowing exercises, that's the reason why you achieved. Like, I don't know, some of these people who achieved like relative greatness in polyglothery, they, well, because how do you become a language guru, right? You reach a level of greatness, and then you sit down and you're trying to work it back and understand how the hell did it happen. Like, what is so great about me, or what were the unique circumstances of my path to here that led me, that led me here where I am so great. And for some reason, those people just keep misinterpreting. Like, the reason why Matt versus Japan has such a great understanding of Japanese and really poor output is because he watched anime for like 5 years straight, not doing literally anything else with his life. He just sat in his room and watched anime for 5 years. For some reason, he completely like misses that part of the equation. Dogen. Yeah, I get that you were like a Japanese teacher or something, who like then later in his at one point like went to Japan or something, and then I don't know if he's like a corporate like teacher for corporations or something. I don't know. Like I think there was something about him being a teacher. I don't know. It doesn't matter, but you get the idea, right? Like, it's not. Like, you don't think your Japanese is great because you lived in Japan for 20 years and you made a conscious effort to just, be Japanese, live your life in Japanese, interact with people, do not stay in the bubble of like Americans living in America, right? Just like try to assimilate. Like, you don't think that is the contributing factor, is the main factor why you speak Japanese. No, 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 no. The main factor is that you were sitting in your room, you were sitting like whatever, like, bent over, bent over your desk, just like drilling grammar. Like, that's the reason you think, right? Like, no, you can learn a little bit of grammar here and there. You can drill a little bit of information like that, a little bit of knowledge, if you forgive me, a little bit of Tai Lopez here. But you can do that, right? But actual mastery, actual language acquisition does not come from things like that. It comes from, well, basically a level of immersion. And AJAD at that point was basically only pushed by Met versus Japan. And Met versus Japan, like I said, everyone in that community was just radically misinterpreting the reason why his Japanese was good. And then basically right before he completely abandoned his channel, Matt actually attempted to pull like multiple scams in a row, which I honestly didn't even expect from him, because it was ridiculous. He wasn't even that big. Like, what I have no idea what he was thinking. Anyway, so he ended up embarrassing himself so much, he literally abandoned like 100K channel. These days, manosphere grifters could probably, like most like professional grifters don't even have that amount of subscribers. Like these days, manosphere grifters could probably pull like literally billions of views with a channel of his size. Instead, they all have like 3,000 subscribers and still manage to pull millions of views, but at least, like, yeah. Like, I don't know. There's so many things that Matt could have, like anyone could have done with like 100K channel, right? Nope. He got embarrassed so hard, he just abandoned it. So that's what NBSI was about. And language acquisition, I mean, not about Met versus Japan, but it was written kind of in like a semi-reply to that absolutely embarrassing and damaging to everyone, really, to language acquisition, so to speak, culture, to just like polyglots in general, people who go to other countries to learn languages, to learn cultures. It was just very toxic. It was very cringe. It was damaging for reputation of people like myself, for reputation of people who just want to learn a language because they are honestly interested in the culture of a different, different country. And their advice, like I said again, their advice was almost entirely unhelpful, very unreasonable most of the time. Like, even if it could in theory work, or even in practice work, it was just unreasonable. There was a lot of very made up, very fake philosophy bolted on top of all of those people's approaches. The level of just like self-justification for why my method is so wonky is because such and such, and boom, we're talking philosophy suddenly, So yeah, I wrote on BSI kind of in a way to like dunk on those people just a little bit. And well, now it's been what, 10 years? Well, maybe slightly less, right? It was like slightly under 10 years, and that that type of community doesn't really exist anymore. That type of content is no longer viral. So that community is no longer there. That type of content is like no longer goes viral. You know, oh, look at this guy who speaks 73 languages and he has a revolutionary method for learning a language in 3 weeks. Any language. Yeah. Good luck learning like 20,000 kanji in 3 weeks. Good luck. Oh, but then we would be like, oh, no, 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 we're not talking written. It's just like purely spoken. Oh, spoken then in 3 weeks. Well, you know what? Good luck to you as well. That wouldn't work either. But the type of content no longer goes viral. People no longer propagate this bullshit. Like, oh, look at this guy. Oh, have you seen that guy on YouTube? Like, your friends no longer come to you with that type of information. It's done. It's played out. It's done. It no longer exists. So, like, I don't want, like, it's okay, I think. As a really big essay on how just started that community was, yeah, cool, you know. For somebody who was actually part of the quote-unquote movement or who was aware of the whole thing at any point, it would be an interesting conversation to have, you know, with somebody, you know, who knows about all of those revolutionary, you know, polyglots of YouTube, you know, from 10 years ago. It would be an interesting conversation to have with somebody who's aware of that culture, and like most of those messages, you know, from those popular people. Especially if it's somebody like, you know, shares my point of view that all of it was just hilarious level of crap. But NBSI, well, it's an actual guide to language acquisition with no BS. That's what it stands for, by the way, if you you don't know, no BS immersion. NBSI is like, it doesn't need to forever stay like that. So I would say probably maybe like up to 10-ish% of it was legitimately just describing the situation with the misinformation out there. More or less specifically through the prism of, and prism is a good analogy because it completely distorts and derails, you know, like a path, like you on your path to your goal. So through the prism of the quote-unquote YouTube polyglot community from about 10 years ago, it was a criticism of misconceptions and misinformation out there. And I wanna switch the prism. I want to lower the amount of content that is criticism of all that to maybe from 15 to say 10, and I want to turn turn the prism a little bit so that it's not about YouTube community anymore that no longer exists, and more about just people in general who spew that information. I think I probably even like name drop their way, you know, into shame out of their YouTube careers almost a decade ago. So I wanna fix it a little bit. But if anyone at any point wonders, right, if like how many bridges have I ever, well, zero really, because nobody read it. But if you wonder how many bridges, you know, were in flames at any point, I set ablaze purposely by written that thing. I back it up. I think because ultimately those people deserve the roast, honestly. And some of them got what they deserved, essentially, because, you know, they were, well, literally embarrassed themselves out of their YouTube careers, which we now know you can have a YouTube career with literally 1,000 subscribers these days. You know, those people could have, especially in this economy, I think Met versus Japan probably, unless he found another way to obviously, you know, invest his savings at that point, because obviously he made a ton of money from YouTube at that point. But Well, it's also obvious that he either abandoned his YouTube career or he found a way to make much more money elsewhere. Otherwise, of course, there's no reason not to upload every other day. I mean, look at the incel channels, you know. So, yeah, man. I backed it up. I want to, well, not really fix it up. I just want to, change a few things here and there. I want to make it a little bit more, updated, essentially, right? More relevant to how things are today. And things are today so that we don't have this toxic, community of polyglot YouTubers really anymore. Well, we kind of do, but also, well, you know what I'm saying, right? They no longer running YouTube like they were for a couple of years at that point. Not literally, of course, they weren't running anything, but there was a big segment that was honestly rather problematic, I believe, for people trying to learn languages. And well, also problematic for the reputation of people who do speak more than one language. So, what else? Went to a pretty interesting interview the other day. It was for software. And I was invited to an interview. It ended up being an audition, like a literal audition, It's like, imagine you're invited to an interview, and then you are literally set in the room with like 10 other people, and you are told, okay, guys, we're going to be doing assignments now. And okay, so how many positions are open? Like, how many people are you looking to hire? Obviously not all of us. So we are all competing here, right? Okay, cool. So if I knew this was not an actual interview, it was instead a review, right? It was an audition. I probably would have actually really well considered whether I wanted to go or not, because it's frigging software, meaning I'm gonna go against Gen Xers, God forbid boomers, with tens of, decades of years of experience. They probably know half the people, because of all the networking in the company that we're auditioning to. They probably personally know, they're probably personally friends with the manager who's shepherding all of us there. Like, why would I even bother? Like, it's never gonna work. You will always hire one of those people, people with a ton of corporate experience, people who know half the people in your company. So I probably wouldn't even bother. I had to take a day off for that. I had to use PTO for that. And it was just a giant waste of time. They literally replied the next day, because this one was like a flash interview, and the next interview would have been like the big one. And they said, no, we don't want you back. And of course, the whole thing was extremely pleasant. Everyone was super impressed with me and my level of communication and my personality. Everyone was grinning 24/7, just like nonstop. Yeah, like no feedback at all that I have done anything wrong. No feedback at all that I have either fucked up anywhere, or that I miscommunicated something, or that my breath smelled. Like nothing. Everyone just loved me. And then the next day, we're very sorry, but we're not going to invite you for the next round of the onboarding process. Of course you're not. You know why? Because there were like 5 fucking Gen Xers with me in the room who were software developers their entire lives. None of them had any Python experience, by the way. All of them were either Java or C# developers. No Python in that room, period. And you know what? Sorry, we don't want you. Guess which language was the assignment in, by the way. But nope, we don't want you. No explanation. No feedback during the whole thing. No explanation afterwards. And no heads up that it's a competition, like right now, right there. I thought I was going, to... I thought I was going to compete with the project requirements. Instead, I was competing with combined like 1 trillion years of networking in that room. Yeah, thanks so much, guys. Thank you for totally not wasting my time. Honestly, I probably wouldn't have even went there if I knew. But well, that was interesting application. Another thing I applied to is reduced hours. So hopefully, maybe even starting as soon as next week, but probably not. I've applied 2 weeks ago so that starting next week, I'm working 30 hours instead of 40. but the application may take longer, but still hopefully, maybe if not the next week, then the week after that, hopefully I'm starting to work 30, because my God, the amount of things I have to do. And I'm not even talking like my personal quote unquote projects. No. It's not John and his constantly infinite project. No, just like chores and things. I blew my tire the other day, and guess what? I've been Ubering around because I still haven't fixed it. Like, I'm doing it today, like right now as I'm speaking right now to you. You see, like, I'm holding my phone with one hand, with the other I'm holding this, and with my third hand I'm fixing my tire right now. And like, it took me multiple days to do it because there's no time physically. So yeah, guys, hopefully, if I'm on 30 hours, who knows, maybe I'll actually be able to make a podcast more often than never. I think on this I am done. Sorry, I disabled the chat for this thing because I'm just not in the... I needed to get all of this out and then go. And also, this is really like an emergency podcast because I basically have no reception out here ever since I changed carriers. And it wasn't really a live stream. It was a live podcast, essentially, a substitute for it. And on this, I am done. See you later. Bye-bye. Why do I have to reach all the way to the corner to stop the stream? Couldn't you have just like had the button below, like down there somewhere?